Well, welcome to northern Minnesota. This is John Munter, and this is my farm. We're reading from the Nag Hammadi Library by James Robinson, and I'm just going to recap briefly the previous sayings where we learned about the Holy Spirit and the breast of the Holy Spirit, experiencing that divine love within us and having it transform our lives into the point of light, where it begins in number 11. We understand really the freedom of the light, and it expands more and more, and we feel the ecstasy of the light in number 13. And number 14, 15, 16, 17, we understand it can't be really localized in a person, place, or practice. But it's really something that we come from it. So it's a familiar thing, and it's always there with us. And in 19, we find out that it's such an ecstatic experience that we wouldn't even mind being stoned to death in order to get there quicker and free of the material dross. So we read number 20 about the mustard seed, how it's really a mental thing. It begins really in the depths of our being. Perhaps there's a music in the depths of our being, or perhaps a light we begin to faintly see and grows from there. In number 21, Mary Magdalene is the supreme renunciate figure, and I mentioned last time that I thought that she was maybe Helen, the Queen of Adiabin, historically. If you want to read more about that, I actually have another book out called The Samaritan Jesus, and it's on Amazon, so check that out. So we have a question really that comes from 21. What is the grain here that Mary is reaping? And 22 reads, Jesus saw infants being suckled. He said to his disciples, "These infants being suckled are those like those who entered the kingdom." They said to him, "Shall we then as children enter the kingdom?" Jesus said to them, "When you make the two one, when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, and the above like the below, you make the male and the female one the same, so that the male not be male, nor the female female, when you fashion eyes in place of an eye, and a hand in the place of a hand, and a foot in the place of a foot, and a likeness in place of a likeness, then you will enter the kingdom." So here we really have a description of a non-material primal Adam or higher self that we become. And Jesus begins like saying number 4, talking about infants being suckled here and nursing at the breast of the Holy Spirit. But it really kind of goes beyond that to say, we're just not to escape into that, but we become the freedom of the higher self, where we can, once we make the two one, the lower self and the higher self one, and the inside like the outside, then we begin to transcend sexuality and we transcend physicality to the point where we don't need eyes to see, we don't need a hand to do something, we don't need a foot to go somewhere. Kind of like my stove here. This is my maple syrup stove, and you put the wood in here and it burns the dross of the physicality out, creates the heat of the Holy Spirit. And here I've made 157 quarts of apple juice last spring. And here's the essence of our experience in the higher self. And it doesn't need hands and feet to go anywhere, because we truck it everywhere we go because it's so valuable. So it's a good likeness and similarity to that. So we have the end of the saying here, and it seems like such an impossible thing to grasp for disciples. And that would be really the question at the end of this. Let's read number 23 here. Jesus said, "I shall choose you 1 out of 1,000 and 2 out of 10,000, and they shall stand as a single one." Well, most commentators get this wrong. It's not that Jesus is saying, well, we're so special, you're only 1 in 10,000, or you're only 2 in 10,000. It's really saying that even if you're 1 in 1,000 over here and 2 in 10,000 over here, there's a unity in the light. That's the point. It's unity in the light that is the point. they shall become, stand as a single one. Stand actually is an old Hebrew idea of worshiping God. You stand in the presence and worship God. So standing means really worshiping. Worshiping is a single one. So the disciples then could say, well, okay, how do we really, where do we find this? Where do we find this unity in the physical sphere here? And Jesus says in 24, his disciples said to him, show us the place where you are, since it is necessary for us to seek it. Well, obviously, by now we're figuring out that it's not really in any place, is it? But that's really the question. What's the place here? And we'll have to cover that next time. But thank you for joining us, and check out my website, www.themirroredbridalchamber.com, or my books online, The Samaritan Jesus, or the Integral Gospel of Thomas, Made Easy.